Alright guys, we're in Numbers 24 and 25 today. Um, Numbers 24, there was actually a lot in there. You should probably go back and read through that yourself. Uh, One of the things that stood out was verses 17 through 19, and it's actually a prophetic passage talking about Jesus coming out of the line of Jacob. And it says, I shall see him, but not now. I shall behold him, but not nigh. There shall come a star out of Jacob, and a scepter shall rise out of Israel, and shall smite the corners of Moab, and destroy all the children of Seth. Uh, and Edom shall be a possession. Seir also shall be a possession for his enemies, and Israel shall do valiantly. Out of Jacob shall come he that shall have dominion, and shall destroy him that remaineth of the city. And you have to read the whole chapter to kind of get the gist of everything, but this is a passage that is linked to uh, Jeremiah 49 and actually Genesis 49 as well. And if you go through both of those chapters and then you compare it with this chapter, all of this is talking about a future ruler that is going to come from the line of Jacob. And we know that to be Christ in his second coming. Um, but going through 25, there was actually quite a bit that was going on there. Basically, when you get to the end of 24, Balaam is still, he's trying to curse the Israelites, but he can't. The Spirit of God has fallen on him, and as a result, his heart is turned towards um, the people of Israel. And he every time he tries to curse them, it just comes out a blessing. And one of the things that really kind of stood out here is if you read chapter 25, and then you can actually skip forward a little bit to Numbers um, 32, and then also Deuteronomy 23. Both of those kind of talk about maybe a little bit better depth or more details as to what was going on. Um, but basically, when you start off the chapter in 25, it says, "And Israel abode in Shittim," which is over near Cyprus. I mean, I think it basically is what is Cyprus today. "And the people began to commit whoredom with the daughters of Moab, and they called," and they talking about the Moabites, "and they called the people unto the sacrifices of their gods, and the people did eat and bowed down to their gods. And Israel joined himself unto Baal Peor, and the anger of the Lord was kindled against Israel." And we can see in this passage here that kind of the results of sitting stagnant, of sitting still. It says that the people were abiding in Shittim. Remember that God is leading them around, and when he up and moves, the people are to up and move with him. And um, when he sits, then he sits. But the impression that I get from this passage is that they were sitting stagnant. They were just sitting, not making progress, not moving forward. They were just sitting, and as a result, you've heard the expression before. Idle hands do the devil's work. Um, the idea is that they were sitting in a foreign land, and as a result began to intermingle with those people, and as a result began to adopt their practices, including things that they were strictly forbidden not to do. Um, Marry into the other people's tribes, or the other people's community, and so on and so forth. The danger of that is not, it's not a racism thing, it's not a cultural thing or anything like that. The danger of that is that God had set apart his special people, and had designed this system such that they could have this relationship with God through Moses and the temple. And by marrying into other cultures, the natural tendency is to feel that tug between, let's say, your spouse and um, and your God. And especially with, in this case, the spouse not having been raised that way, not seeing things that way, the tendency is, you know, do I make my spouse happy, or do I do I go with my God? And this goes back to what Jesus had talked about, saying that we must actually, you know, we must actually hate our brother, our mother, our father, things like this, uh, and love Him, to be in the kingdom of God. And the idea is not that we're to hate anyone per se, and we're actually not to hate um, our mother and our father. The idea is that in comparison to Him, everything else should be seen. Our love for Him should be this, and everything else is like way down here. I mean, it's hate in comparison to our devotion to Him. And we can see in this case, as they started to intermarry into this other group, that wasn't the case. They got kind of pulled away and drawn into what the Moabites were doing, which was worshiping idols and things like that. And as a result, that really kind of started off a whole thing. And there ended up being quite a few Israelites that were killed, and that fell in the way, as a result of this. So we have to kind of keep things in perspective when we're looking at these things, and being able to compare those against New Testament passages, and understanding that the New Testament is really a commentary on the Old Testament. It explains in further detail principles and stories and things like this that existed in the Old Testament. It's not a revision. So anyway, just wanted to share that with you guys. All right, God bless.